What is going on, guys? Carter here with Edged Mindset. I've got a good one, a good video, I think. I'm really excited about this video. Every once in a while, I will get a knife in that kind of revigorizes me. It gets the juices flowing. It kind of, getting kind of gross here, kind of lubes up all the different parts. What I mean by that is, it's easy to kind of get burned out on certain hobbies. Like when you get as many knives as I do, when you make content, you get a little bit jaded, and sometimes you kind of get bored with things. And right when you're about to say, I got to take a break, nothing's really exciting me, nothing is making me happy. I keep getting these things and they just seem derivative of other knives or whatever. And I feel like I've already talked about all this stuff. Sometimes you'll get a piece in and it'll kind of change that and get you excited again. And that's what happened right here with this Chavez. This is probably, this is probably the most excited I've been about getting a new knife in a number of months. And I even say that because I shot an unboxing on this knife and it didn't go well. It was awful. I scrapped it. I deleted it. I said, I'm going to come back and do a proper video later. So the newness has even worn off a little bit on this. And I still say it's the most excited I've been on a knife in a long time. What is it? I know you're screaming. What exactly is this? This is a Chavez Redencion 228. Now, some of you may know what that is. Some of you may not know what that is. So this is a Chavez Redencion 229. 229s, Ultramars, meaning foreign made, are made in China, right? And these are the ones that most people are familiar with Chavez. His knives made by Riot. Very well made. Excellent, excellent knives. This is what most people know are the foreign made knives. But before this, before he outsourced to Riot and started really pumping out knives, he did a series of USA made, they're called C.A.M.K, Chavez American made knives, USA made versions of his Redencion, and that's what this one is. And this one is also, it's been modified, it's been pimped, it's been modded, whatever you want to call it. And I am in love with this thing. So this is a 2.5, a version 2.5 is what they call it. Obviously it went through different versions. I think 3 is the most recent version and the last one that he did. So this one is just kind of right before there. Not that it really matters because most of the differences are kind of visual, and because this one has been modded, all those differences are kind of gone for the most part. But man, do I love this knife. So let's just do an overview. So the blade has been blackened. Run in dual thumb studs, just like a Chavez. One of the differences between the 229s, the customs, and the C.A.M.Ks is that the customs and the C.A.M.Ks, like the real Chavezes, whatever you want to say, has thicker blade stock than the Riot ones. I can see why they made this choice, right, to kind of appeal more towards slicing. Not that I would call this a slicer, but with the thinner blade stock, it is a better cutter than kind of the OG Chavez knives, which were kind of known to be really thick and chunky. Let's see here. You can see that the size is pretty much the exact same, which is pretty cool. Titanium handles. This one's running on bearings. It is running bearings directly on titanium. I actually shot a takedown video of this because when I got it, it did have a little bit of lock slip and the detent was a little bit weak. So I took it apart and fixed that. You can watch that video if you want on how I did that and what that did. It is absolutely perfect now. And I got to say, this is one of the smoothest knives I've ever owned. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because it is bearings running directly on titanium, but it is buttery, like drop shutty, super duper, crazy, extreme smooth, and I absolutely love it. Has the domed pivot here that is indicative of the C.A.M.K knives. I believe V1s had a flat pivot, and then everything after that had domed, something like that. I think that kind of follows with the customs as well. Some of the early Chavez customs had the domed pivot, and they've since actually, his customs have since actually moved to something very similar to this, which is interesting. That's a different topic. Bronzed handles. This is all part of the modification as well as the blackening of the blade. And the other modification is rounded on the sides here. So you can see how it's chamfered like normal up here, chamfered down here. but then these are all melted and softened right there. I believe this is original chamfering. I don't think this has been added, but this has all been modified right there. Got the skull clip. You can see how the eyes don't go all the way through like the 229s. This should have had like a belt satin finish, and so they've done kind of like a cool orange peely sort of rough type texture on there, and then it's been darkened and blackened as well. These do not have lock bar inserts. You can see it is just a thick slab of titanium right on steel, but the lock bar, the interface is so precise. There's really no lock stick. Very, very nice. Now, this has a skull crusher right here. I'm not sure if this is part of the original, if it came with this or if this was added. If anybody knows, I believe this is aftermarket. This steel skull crusher, glass breaker right there. And then it's got really cool rock pattern on the back of the back spacer, and then it also has rock pattern on the side of the pocket clip. This thing is just so cool in my opinion. I never got a chance to get one of these when these first came out. I actually kind of got out of the knife game right as these started popping up, the V1 C.A.M.Ks. Everybody was going for them. I almost wanted to get one, but I kind of missed out and never ended up getting one. So really cool to score one now. Of course, as you can imagine, you know, these go for about double what they originally cost now, just because they're long since discontinued. Chavez does not make American-made production knives anymore. So these go for about double what they originally did, which honestly isn't that crazy, considering these haven't been made for, I don't know, probably about 10 years, 9 years, something like that. So with inflation and all that, it's not that crazy. Let's get a weight on here. Way heavier than the new 229s. And we'll do a weight comparison. 7.8 ounces. Whereas the 229, which this isn't really fair, 5.3. This one isn't fair because this is not titanium on the front here. This is, I believe, canvas micarta that I have dyed. So not a fair comparison. Of course, it's going to be lighter. But it gives you somewhat of an idea of how thick and chunky this particular knife is. I really wish Chavez would bring these American-made knives back. I think people would be willing to pay what is needed now to have these be a thing. I personally feel that part of the reason he outsourced is we kind of went through this phase where these Chinese-made knives were just so inexpensive and they were doing things so well. But now technology is kind of caught up. It's a lot cheaper to do that type of work from a machining standpoint in the US. The only thing that's really expensive is the labor aspect. But I think enough people are excited about American-made knives again that they would be willing to pay that extra money. That's just a personal feel that I have, that if Chavez did his C.A.M.K. knives line again, that it would be viable and successful. But as far as I know, there's no plans to do that, which is unfortunate. So you got to buy these on the secondary market. If you want one of these, you got to buy it from somebody who already owns one. A lot of Chavez knives are modified. Customs and productions, both American and overseas. It's kind of a trademark thing. And that's because his design style was kind of these clean slate type knives. Very simple, thick, plain slabs of titanium. People saw it as kind of an open canvas. And so you'll find a lot of knives that have been modified. But you can still find unmodified American-made 228s all over the place. There's a couple up for sale right now. So if you're wanting one that hasn't been modified or changed, you can get those. Or you can find one that's already had some work done to it, which I am happy with this one. Because honestly, if I were to buy a clean, unmolested 228 and get it modified, it would probably be something very similar, if not exactly like this. So that's part of the reason I'm so excited about this, because there's no compromises here. This is what I would do to this knife if I were to get one and just modify it. I would do something kind of like this, the bronzies and the dark and the slightly melted handles, like the textures. Really, really cool. So let me know down below, would you buy a Chavez if it was made in America again, even if it was even a little more than 2 times the price of the Chinese-made ones? Would you? Or would you say, no, I'll just take the Chinese ones? Or do you not even like Chavez? Let me know down below. Thanks for all your support. Appreciate you. Like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. You guys are awesome. Take care.